Hey, Blue Rockers, welcome to Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis. How are you? You're in the camera up there. I've got some new cameras here, Blue Rockers. So you may see me doing this because I'm just now getting used to that. I need to put a little red light up there because that's kind of my training. Always look for that red light. There can be 5 cameras in front of you and just look for that red light. So anyway, trick of the trade. So it's Crypto Connie Tuesday. Welcome to the show, you crypto folk out there. Other Blue Rockers that have joined us that are subscribed to some of the other shows. Well, this is all about cryptocurrency here. Crypto Connie Tuesday. Keep in mind the rest of you that are here, Wednesday night's coming up soon, really soon. I know I keep promising you that, but I'm pulling together some incredible information, by the way. It'll be Wasted Wednesdays. That's a serious look at the cannabis industry. Thursday nights here, 9 p.m. Eastern, all the way across the board in the evening time. We have Far Out Thursday, all sorts of interesting conversations. Bigfoot Fridays we have on Friday. Always breaking news, always something spontaneous. And then on Sundays we have Stan's Bible lecture. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern. He's got something kind of neat coming up on Sunday that I don't even think he knows about yet. I'll throw it at him at one point. He may veto it, but I don't think so. I think he's going to like this one. So I'll surprise him with it. Shh. So again, 9 p.m. Eastern is the new time for everything. Even though we're a little late right now, just pulling some things together. You know, Stan's always late. Just, you know, it's always Stan. It's not me. What else do we have? Well, if you are new here, thank you for subscribing. If you are new and you have not subscribed, please do, because there's lots of benefits for you. First of all, it's Blue Rock Talk. That is Earth's most interesting conversations. And that means people, places, and things. And you're also a Blue Rocker at that point, and that is someone in the know. All right, so you will now be in the know, whether it's crypto, hybrids, aliens, the Bible classes that we have, and who knows what else. As long as it's interesting, we have it for you. So now, in the crypto world, because it's Crypto Connie Tuesday, this is what's going on. Stan's been giving you some clues for a while. Stan Larimer, the godfather of BitShares. That's who's with us tonight. And I guess tonight, he's going to reveal them. I don't know. So anyway, we're live on YouTube, DLive, Facebook, Twitter, and we'll be seen on Steam and a couple other ones. So I've been working hard trying to get Blue Rock Talk across the globe. So thank you for liking, supporting, following, sharing, upvoting. Let's grow our congregation. Let's grow our audience. And may Blue Rockers unite all over the world. Okay, so, and you got to learn how to do this too. All right, so let's bring on our guest for tonight. Oh my gosh, little bit. Let's see. Let's make sure I got you on here. Let's go 1, 2, 3, and there's Stan Larimer, everybody. The crowd knows. How you doing? See, he's.
Yeah. How do they do it?
You do it well. Do that again. Do your little thing that you do. What? Okay, now.
Yeah, there we go.
Now you gotta like go across the screen. You got. There we go. There we go. So let me make sure everybody hears Stan. Does everybody hear Stan talking? Count to 10, Stan.
1 to 10.
Yep. See, he's a geek. They can do that sort of thing. So let me just make sure everybody says hello. Hey, everybody. Cool. We got some people in there saying hi. And Stan, I think we're good. I think we're all over everywhere. I think we're good to go. Yeah.
All right.
You good to go?
I am psyched. This is going to be a watershed event.
I know.
You're watching history in the making.
He has got his. Well, you know what? You explain to everybody. First of all, just before we start the night, I get to meet Stan for the first time. Believe it or not, I've never met Stan in person. I feel like I've known him forever. I feel like I could tell you what his favorite soft drink and maybe, no, I don't know if I could tell you your favorite wine. I just know it would probably be a red. Even though I feel like I know you very, very close. We've never met in person, so we actually get to for the first time this week. We're going to Salt Lake City and we get to see Quintric, the people of Quintric, and the vault. So we might do some surprises from there. Your turn.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something.
Well, I thought you might say, "Yeah, it's going to be so cool to meet Connie. I've been looking forward to this." But
oh, you know. I've been dreading this for ages. I knew the day would come, you know, and it's finally here. But yeah, you know, worse than that. I got to spend 8 hours in the car with Connie.
8? Only 5.
Michael's going to pick us up at the airport and drive us down to one of the Quintrix guys' mountain home in Moab.
It's not 8 hours, though.
It's 4 hours down and 4 hours back.
Oh, man, you really are dreading it. You're counting both ways. Yeah, he's like a brother to me. That's brother talk.
So I don't know. I'm probably going to have to bring some duct tape or something so that we can silence her while I think.
Oh, jeez. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Stan. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it and get to meet Michael X in person as well. You know, the thing is, when you have Skype, you just, you know, it's like it's the next best thing to being there. All right. So what else? So Quintric, we've got that going on. We're trying to close deals. We're trying to make things happen for you, Blue Rockers, all you crypto fans out there. And by the way, there's these groups and these meetups. I've been trying to meet with them, and instead I keep having a crypto show, so I can't. However, they're crypto meetup folks, and I think they could understand better than anyone. So nothing else on my side. Anything else before we do your slideshow presentation and have a good time with your revealing of your secrets?
We're going to do half the clues. There's 70 clues, so that means we've got 35 different clues to talk about tonight. And so I suppose we ought to get to it.
Okay. All right. I think what we should do, Stan, now Stan, we are live. So here's the deal. Stan was asking, and it's a good idea, to take your questions after each clue. However, there's a delay. So that's not a good idea because we'll be sitting there waiting for you and everybody else will be bored. And what if you don't have a question? So we'll wait and take the questions afterwards, put them in caps, and you know, we'll just do that just because of the delay. That's all. So if you have a question about one of the clues along the way, let's say it's clue number 15, you know, make sure you include that too. Connie, you know, number 15, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that'll help me. That sound good, Stan? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a great plan.
Okay. Oh, I'm already telling people we'll take their questions. Hold on, let me change that. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I had the wrong font up. Sorry. All right. Okay. So should I turn it over to you? I'm going to turn it over to you, Stan. It's going to be up to you.
All right. Yeah, I'll see you on the other side of the show.
Other side. Not after all that great, wonderful stuff you said about me. Are you kidding me?
I can pull the plug any minute.
Whoopee cushion. Whoopee cushion. I need it for the car. I need it for the car. Hold on. Here, let's see. All right. Let me pull you up and let's have a good time with this. Here we go. There, everybody. Stan Larimer.
Okay. So if you can put up the first slide, Connie. We're entering Mystery Theater Part 1. We solve the first half of the mysteries that we've created recently. And what we've got right here is my inevitable disclaimer that I've got to put in here. And so if Connie, if you can blow that up so we can see it very clearly, or if not, I'll just pop over to my other screen and read it off there. But I got, now I can read it. Okay, here we go with a disclaimer. This show is a work of fiction. It refers to things in an alternate universe, far in the future, or a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It is possible that somebody, someday, may attempt to build something like the things we're going to talk about tonight. But until they do, it does not exist and probably never will exist in anywhere near the form that this work presents it. Any white papers, articles, interviews, press releases, or other forms of free expression about the subject of this show are necessarily also fictitious, or speculation about a work of fiction. No one should invest in any such work of fiction, in whole or in part, believing it to be true or likely to become true in their lifetimes. All discussions of the ideas, concepts, visions, and dreams about this topic are for entertainment purposes only. Americans are expressly forbidden from watching this show, hearing or thinking about it, or discussing it in any forum, public or private. Okay, you can stick that away now. We've got that covered. You might ask yourself, why in the world am I creating a work of fiction and treating it that way? Well, you can think of it as somewhat of a prophylactic. It turns out that in my dystopian universe, keep in mind, I am merely a character being played by Stan Larimer, and that character is a harmless and lovable little godfather of BitShares that has lots of opinions and says lots of things, and some of them may be true and some of them may not be true, and you can do that in a dystopian fictional universe. However, out in the real world where you're at, you probably can't do that, because who knows, at any time you might make a false statement, and false statements can be used against you. Now, fortunately, in your universe, the government is full of fair and fair referees who are interested in doing justice, and they've been trained from birth on how to administer justice. And so if any time someone does the equivalent of jaywalking or accidentally making a false statement, you're good to go, because no one's going to get picky on a technicality. They're interested in stopping real crime. And so you live in a safe universe. But in my dystopian universe, a false statement can put you in jail for life. And so we have to be very careful about that. And in fact, based on that, I need to actually go into a layer deep of a character playing a character and talk to you from the safety of that fictional universe being written by a fictional character. And you're watching me playing me. Maybe I've retreated safely enough into a fictional universe to be able to talk about this subject. But the fact of the matter is, if I were to make an accidental false statement like, hey, Connie, it's raining outside, and Connie were to say, no, it's not, it stopped 10 minutes ago. And I were to say, oh, my goodness, I made a mistake. Let me correct that. And I immediately jumped up and said to everybody in the restaurant around us, hey, everybody, if you happen to have been eavesdropping and heard me say that it was raining outside, I take it back. It's not raining outside. And if anybody was misled in any way by my statement like that, I'll buy you a dinner. And I sit down feeling pretty good about myself, but just then the government crashes in through all the doors and says, you're under arrest for making a false statement. And I say, but I just corrected it. And they say, no, that's exactly right. We've got you now, because by correcting it, you admitted you made a false statement. So we don't even have to prove it anymore. And if by some chance it turned out that it was a true statement, then your statement that you made a false statement is a false statement. So either way, one of those two things was a false statement, and therefore we can arrest you right now. And by the way, since you did it while in the process of making money, I said, I'm sitting here eating in a restaurant. I'm not making money. Well, yes, but you were at work today trying to make money, and tomorrow you'll be at work trying to make money. So the space between those two times is still in the process of making money. And it turns out that if you make a false statement in the process of making money, then you are guilty of fraud. And since it involves money, a type of fraud is money laundering. So we're going to get you for money laundering since that's the case. So we can throw the book at you for that. And since terrorists sometimes do money laundering, we're going to get you for terrorism. And since people who are mass murderers are sometimes terrorists, we're going to get you for mass murder. So we're going to put you away for 2,000 years because you slipped up and made a false statement while making money. You get the idea of what my dystopian universe is like, how horrible it would be to live in that universe. But it gives me a opportunity to talk about what are the implications for our freedom when we can have a situation in my universe, not your real world, but my fictitious world, where the government is no longer an honest referee, but instead a vindictive set of people out to crush selected individuals they don't like. So at any rate, because in my world, several layers down to fictitious, I might slip up and make a false statement, it's best to be inside the wrapper of a fictional piece of work where I can go ahead and talk about different things. For example, tonight, I'm going to unravel a bunch of clues that are talking about a fictional set of coming events. They're sort of set up to be like prophecies in the Bible. And since the act of using that little gimmick of making things look like prophecies of the future could be interpreted, if any of them don't come true, as a false statement, I'd better make sure you all realize that this is in fact a work of fiction, and we are playing a game of what would the world be like if people could make predictions in the future and not worry about them ever being a false statement. So there, that is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And if you will accept the fact that none of the clues right now are going to be interpreted in any way that is not subject to this disclaimer that says that what the clues are about is in fact a work of fiction. Now, you may say, well, Stan, you know, this set of, this alternative universe that you're talking about here seems awful familiar. It kind of has some similarities to the real world. So how can you say it's a work of fiction? Well, you watch Spider-Man and you see him swinging from the Brooklyn Bridge. Okay, that's a fictitious Brooklyn Bridge, but it looks exactly like the real Brooklyn Bridge. And all kinds of works of fiction are events cast inside something that looks like the real world, but they are in fact alternative universes that contain a mix of things you're familiar with and things that are made up. So if you hear anything that you think sounds like something in the real world, keep in mind that it's still a fictional world, and I'm talking about that. I'm playing a character, you're watching what amounts to a live performance by an actor trying to impersonate me in the real world, but in a new set of circumstances. So there's a long-winded explanation that unfortunately in my dystopian alternate universe I have to make. Okay, so with that, Connie, let's go to clue number 1. Okay, now for those of you who may not have been following the clues, you understand that where this came about was from me participating in a regular forum in which BitShares people discuss things, in which somebody posted one of my Bible lessons, and a number of people in that forum objected to even posting a link to a discussion of Bible topics in that forum. They said, you just don't do that. You got to separate church and state. Don't you dare talk about this subject in our environment. Whereupon I was fortunate enough to have somebody set me up with my own forum where I could talk about whatever I want without getting banned. And I went in there, basically said, okay, you guys don't want to hear when I talk about Jesus, then you don't need to hear me talk about any of the other things that I find exciting that I'd like to talk about to you. And if you're tolerant of my faith enough to come into an environment where half the things posted are discussing something about Christianity, either pro or con, but something about that. If you're willing to be tolerant and allow me to speak whatever I want to say about that, then you deserve to hear some of the other things that I might be thinking about doing, or things that you might find extra interesting that the people who aren't tolerant are no longer going to be privy to see. As we got going on all that, you know, we've had all kinds of interesting discussions in that community, and it's been very nice because in some sense, and it's strange, but if you have a community full of tolerant people talking about this subject, the trolls go away. It's like mothballs. They can't stand to be in there making trouble because there's just too much talk about God. And so they leave. And so we accidentally discovered the perfect formula for having a nice civil forum. You just got to make sure there's some Bible verses scattered around in there. And that's what we did. So I started having a whole lot of fun thinking up Bible verses that I could paraphrase and turn into a clue about things that I was thinking about doing in this fictitious universe. And so here's the first one, which comes right out of the Bible, which is talking about that subject. First of all, you must understand that in the last days, scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires. Where is the promise of Stan's last post, they will ask. Ever since BitMaster's departure, everything continues as it has from the beginning of its creation. BitMaster is, of course, Dan Larimer, my son, who I don't think he calls himself BitMaster anymore, but he did at the time when BitShares was formed. And, of course, one of the things we did throughout all those early years was have an open forum where we would talk about every thought we had. Hey, guys, we're thinking of painting it blue. What do you think? Should the logo be blue? And, whatever the subject was. And sometimes we'd come back and say, well, guys, we thought it would make it blue, but that doesn't work because it clashes with the chartreuse that we want to use over here. And so we wind up backing out of that and doing something else. And in the process, people would pounce on us and point out, you guys promised this and you didn't do it. And of course, we'd always say, no, we didn't promise anything. We told you what we were thinking. You assumed it was a promise. So that forced us into learning the lesson that you always have to say, this is not a promise. This is what we're thinking about doing. We're putting this out here for comments. So anyhow, it just seemed to me that the very same experiences of having scoffers coming along and pointing out, or criticizing everything we're doing and pointing out anytime we change direction is, very similar to what was predicted about what would happen to Christians in the Bible, especially to the promise of Jesus's second coming, which, we've been waiting for it for 2,000 years now. He made it clear that there probably would be a long wait and that people would fall asleep waiting and that there would be scoffers. And so I used that as the kickoff for drawing the parallels, if you would, between waiting for the second coming of Christ and waiting for the second coming of BitShares. Okay, and maybe we should call it the third coming since we're already on BitShares 2.0. But we'll get to that. Okay, Connie, let's look at the next one. Okay, this is really deep here. Okay, the thing that it is referring to is Jesus himself used to talk in parables, which were not exactly riddles, but they were stories with a moral to them, and a lot of times people didn't get them, and so it seemed to work as if he was talking in code. Some people got him and some people didn't. The disciples came and said, why do you always talk to the crowds in parables? And so I turned that around for here because these clues are functioning in that same capacity for the same reason. Okay, so let's look at what my clue was. Then the believers came to Stan and asked, why do you speak to the people in riddles? He replied, the knowledge of the mysteries of the futures of BitShares will be given to you, but not to them, so that those seeing they may not see, and though hearing they may not understand. Whoever has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. And of course, what Jesus was talking about is that if you've got faith and are willing to listen and try to understand, that's the type of person he's seeking. And if you're the type of person that wants to misunderstand, he wants to allow you to misunderstand and walk away. And he's willing to let you walk away if you want to put up that kind of barrier. And so I thought about it and said, that's really what I'd like to achieve in the BitShares community with the new projects that we'd like to do. I would really like it if we could somehow filter out the people who are scoffers and negative and distrusting and have them reject the new things we're doing. And people that were open to it, liked the ideas, were willing to give it a chance and be patient. If that group of people were to become the new community of supporters for the new things we're doing, then things would go a whole lot better, because presumably that would be a natural selection process that got rid of a lot of the negativity right at the very beginning. So just like Jesus is willing to let people eliminate themselves from heaven, I'm willing to let people eliminate themselves from the new things we're trying to do. And so that was the meaning of that particular clue. Okay, next. Clue number 3. Okay, this is a saying of Jesus. I think it came from his Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5 through 7. I picked it up and just pretty much quoted it verbatim. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. As you see as we go along, our plan for making sure, or for distributing the new tokens in what we're doing is aimed so that the more people participate, the more free tokens they get. So we're not saying that you have to give. Any tokens will be handed out for free. We're not going to sell any of them. It'll be completely giveaway, and it'll be given away proportionally to how you participate in using the new system. And we'll get to a little more detail about that as we get to next week's clue. But this was showing that you have a way of controlling how much you benefit by how much you participate. Next. Okay, I think this is clue number 4, and I can't see the clue numbers, so I'm going to guess that's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, Connie, yeah, feel free to interrupt me at any time and heckle or whatever. I don't want this to be a monologue.
It's a monologue.
Okay. Don't give that which is special to the dogs. Neither throw your tokens before the swine, lest perhaps they trample them under their feet and then turn and tear you to pieces. This is the don't cast your pearls before swine advice that Jesus gave. Don't give facts about the kingdom of heaven and what it takes to get eternal life, all those precious pieces of information to people who won't believe it, because they'll just trample them underfoot and then turn and tear you apart. And I felt, that's exactly what will happen if we hand out these tokens to just everybody, no matter what their attitude is. A lot of them will just dump them, crash the price, and then they'll turn around and tear apart the whole project for having failed, even though it was because of them dumping it. So, part of the strategy is to build a community worthy of receiving all the free tokens. And if you think about it, I've been talking about airdrop theory for 5 years now. And in general, we've said you want to build a community by airdropping on other coins that represent your values and the kind of community you want to attract. And so if you've got a new coin that's something that you think you'd like to have people who are permaculture enthusiasts, then maybe you want to airdrop it on Permacoin. And if you've got people who like weird humor, maybe you want to drop it on Dogecoin. Whatever the case is, I made the point that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different communities out there identifiable by their coins. So you could construct your own community as any mix you like by giving free samples to those other communities, and therefore attract to you a community that is likely to want to hang on to your coins instead of dumping them. And so trying to do that sort of thing here, I said, well, why not create an environment where you attract people who like what you're doing and repel people who don't like what you're doing before you even do the airdrop. And then when you do it, you basically can make sure that the people who are getting the voting power on your new token are the people who came for the right reasons, and all the people who want to heckle, you'd like to set it up so that they don't even bother to participate. They stand in the distance and heckle and don't collect any free tokens. And when you're done, hopefully you have a better voting block in your new community. So that was what we're talking about here. We're not going to just do an airdrop on everybody. It's going to be an airdrop on people who demonstrate a positive attitude to what we're doing. Okay, next.
Number 5.
Number 5. That's great. Yeah, give me the number every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We should have started with number 35 and counted down. Maybe these are done in the order they were presented. Okay, here we go. Number 5. Again, the future of BitShares is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid. And in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. The analogy here was, no, you're not going to have to buy these tokens, but you're going to have to occupy the right field in order to collect them. And we'll tell you what that field is as we go along, but this was a hint that says, yeah, you know, when somebody finds out that by owning this particular asset, I can collect new things, new treasure, then you know, that's a good thing to know. And hopefully we can set that up in a way to where people who view what we're doing favorably will find it a no-brainer to participate, and people who are negative will find it burdensome to do so. And that will help us separate the sheep from the goats. Okay, next.
Number 6.
Number 6. It was in the community, and though the community was made through it, the community did not recognize it. It came to that was its own, but its own did not receive it. Yet to all who did receive it, to those who believed in its name, it gave the right to become heirs to the ecosystem. That ought to be profound. Of course, when Jesus showed up, he showed up to the Jewish people. He was a Jew, and he was their Messiah. And yet a whole lot of them that were his own people rejected him. They did not receive it. But some Jews did, and those became believers and therefore inherited what he was offering, which is the right to have eternal life and become part of his kingdom. Well, I like that as a general strategy. Certainly that's been my experience, bringing things to the BitShares community and having a lot of them not recognize that vision or not wanting to participate or wanting to ridicule it. Over the past couple of years, I've brought numerous things in that instead of being welcomed with open arms, were instead subject to all kinds of FUD and disinformation and attempts to cut it down. And so I said to myself, boy, I want to know a little bit about how Jesus felt when he was rejected by the Jewish people. Because when I bring things that I think are wonderful to the community, there are those who do not receive it. I'd like to make sure, though, that all who do believe are the ones who get the benefit and ultimately inherit the system that, keep in mind, was originally in the vision of Dan Larimer. And we have quite a few people that are still in the community that had that original vision. And I'd like to see to it that we deliver on that vision long term, no matter how long it takes. Okay, next.
Number 7.
Number 7. Now, concerning the times and the seasons, brothers and sisters, you have no need to have anything written to you, for you yourselves are fully aware that the Genesis block will come like a thief in the night. But you are not in darkness, that day should overtake you like a thief in the night. So, unbelievers have no clue when the Genesis block is coming, but I think many of you do, and future clues that we'll get to will help to explain that. You're not in darkness because, being a believer, you've been studying these revelations and putting 2 and 2 together, and probably have a pretty good idea. And I think you will have a very good idea to the day when the Genesis block will be, although that's something that we're not going to commit to until it's highly likely. Okay, so let's go to the next slide.
Number 8.
Number 8. Since the cock crowed this morning, Michael has revealed the times in the season 3 times. He did that on 7/24/18 when he started announcing our participation in the upcoming Amsterdam and Sao Paulo conferences. And so he, in several different places, referred to that. And that is indeed the time in the seasons when basically we're going to be giving out the more detailed information, which is the upcoming announcements we're going to do at those 2 conferences. Okay, next.
Number 9.
Number 9, and of course, I couldn't help it when it occurred to me that there was a great verse about Michael the Archangel in Daniel, talking about at the end times when he would stand up and come to the aid of the people he guards, which is the Jewish people who are believers in Jesus. And so I paraphrased that a little bit as a nod to little Michael Taggart. At that time, Michael, the great prince who stands watch over your people, will stand up, and there will be time of distress such as has never occurred from the beginning of nations until then. But at that time, your people, everyone whose name is found written in the Genesis book, will be delivered. Okay, so that was a basic hint to the fact that I expect that when we do this announcement coming up at these events, that there will be a certain group of people that will see that as their chance to step up the fudgelinging, as they have done for most of the other things we've introduced. And there'll be a great time of argument among the various factions inside the community. And that may be stressful, but the way we have attempted to advise it, those who have been found worthy, supportive of the kind of things that we're trying to do, are the ones who will be delivered in the end. Next.
Number 10.
So if they tell you, there it is in the forums, do not cash out. Or here it is in a GitHub depository, do not believe it. For just as the lightning comes from the east and is seen in the west, so it will be at the coming of the future of BitShares. When this happens, you cannot miss it. It'll be a big deal. And so don't be looking for little tiny clues in some GitHub depository or whatever. This is what Jesus was saying about himself. Don't expect that on his second coming that it'll be some ordinary person in the back rooms or somebody out in the public speaking otherwise normal. No, it'll be Jesus coming on the clouds with power and great glory, and all the world will see it at the same time. So it's one of the things that's kind of interesting about this day and age. This is past, I don't know, 60 or so years since the invention of television, however long that's been, maybe longer than that by now, is the first time that it's actually likely for all the people in the world to see any event. And so now that becomes possible. Whenever this happens, I'm sure everybody in the world will be tuned in to watch it. And so as far as most of this world is not going to necessarily notice anything happening yet in the blockchain industry, but the blockchain industry is going to notice this particular event. Next.
Number 11.
He told them this parable. No one tears a piece out of a new garment to patch an old one. Otherwise, they will have torn the new garment, and the patch from the new will not match the old. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, new wine will burst the skins, and the wine will run out of the wineskins and will be ruined. So, no, new wine must be poured into new wineskins. And so he was talking about his new covenant, which is a covenant of grace, where rather than trying to follow the law, you put your trust in Jesus Christ, who in his righteousness, which you inherit by believing and trusting in him. And that was the new wine, and the old people who'd been living and were trying to obey the Jewish law, a lot of them couldn't accept that. And it would break those wineskins open. Well, same thing happens with BitShares. The kind of technology we would like to bring to BitShares really can't be put inside the BitShares blockchain without breaking it. That's one mistake we made going from BitShares 1 to BitShares 2, is some people who were building on top of the old code base, when we upgraded to graphene, even though it was super, they had already spent a lot of their resources and didn't have resources enough to finish their project and convert. And so it broke a lot of people and hurt them. And so, we sort of vowed never again are we going to do that kind of a big change that isn't backward compatible. In the past, that has meant spinning off Steemit, as a completely different project rather than trying to build it in. And of course, Dan's gone on to do EOS now. But with the advent of EOS and the ideas of sidechains, it's now possible to leave the old chain in place and build a parallel sidechain that works next to it so that you enhance the thing. And if you slap a new wallet on it that talks to both blockchains, you can make it appear like it's an upgrade to a new version of BitShares. But in fact, under the hood, it's BitShares and EOS as a sidechain. And so we put all the new technology into the new chain, which we want to design in such a way that it always stays compatible with the EOS main chain so that we can inherit the billions of dollars worth of R&D that are going on over in the EOS community and make that available as an automatic upgrade to BitShares. Effectively, even though if you look underneath the hood, it's separate chains that can communicate. When you step back, BitShares becomes EOS compatible, and therefore we've basically put the new wine into a new wineskin and haven't ruptured or destroyed the old wineskin of the original BitShares. So people who want to ignore the upgrade can do so. They can continue to run their business on the old chain without any difficulty. But those who want to upgrade without moving out of everything they've invested in BitShares now have access to all kinds of new functionality that will be coming in that way. Okay, next.
Number 12.
12. You're like a third of the way there, Connie. Not bad. Okay. Consider the lilies of the field in front of the Maginot Line, the fortified trenches between France and Germany. The French were very proud of the state-of-the-art impervious fortifications employed all along the lessons from World War I. At the start of World War II, the Germans simply blitzkrieged around through Belgium, and the defenses of the Maginot Line were ineffective. And so I kind of chuckle when I see some of the scheming and maneuvering and alliance building that is going on in order to create what amounts to a party system or a power block that is attempting to control the BitShares community. And I say, well, it's possible to design the moral equivalent of a blitzkrieg that simply bypasses all of those things. Now, obviously, having come up with that strategy, I'm not about to reveal it until after the blitzkrieg has happened. But the idea is to restore balance to the force, if you will, in that community, and to maybe break up some of the cabals that have formed that are seeking to centralize what should be decentralized upon themselves. So I'm not saying that I want to do something to centralize anything on me. I've already spent 5 years decentralizing that, giving it away, riding off into the sunset so that it could be decentralized. And it kind of sticks in my craw when I see people working to gain undue influence over something that should be more decentralized. So part of what we've been doing is scheming on how to bring about a new blockchain order. And we just have to wait till you see that unfold. It may be a thing of beauty. Of course, this is all fictional, so you may never see it in your lifetime. But you can certainly watch it play out here on our fictional series about a parallel universe where everything works out the way I'd like to see it. Okay, next.
13.
13. A certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant out to tell those who had been invited, "Come, for everything is now ready." But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, "You took too long to prepare it. Please excuse me." And another said, "I'm afraid you might thank God or something before we eat. Please excuse me." And still another said, "They're probably scamming me, so I can't come." And the servant came back and reported this to his master. And then the owner of the house became angry and ordered the servant, "Go out quickly into the streets and alleys and towns and bring in those who are not so easily offended." "Sir," the servant said, "what you have asked has been done, but there is still room." Then the master told the servant, "Go out into the other farms and compel them to come in, so that my banquet will be full. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet." Of course, this is Jesus talking about the fact that he comes and dies for humanity so that we can get into heaven and spend eternity in paradise, and people are making up excuses why they can't do the simple things he asks. And so he's basically saying, okay, well, I offered it first to the Jews, and some came, but the ones who didn't, I'm going to take it to the Gentiles now, and go out into the streets and make this offer available to everybody. And so that's what we're doing here in some sense. A lot of new faces and names have been attracted to our forum for nice people and the kind of things we talk about there. So we're getting new people that are more compatible, and people who are not willing to talk about such things are allowed to make their excuses and go away, but they will not participate because they've eliminated themselves by their own attitude. And so I thought that was an interesting parallel. Next, Connie.
Number 14, I think.
14. Future of BitShares is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. And though it was the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it becomes the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree so that the birds come and perch in its branches. And so that's sort of like the message of Christianity. You know, most religions of the world give you a long list of things you got to do. Christianity says just, believe in Jesus Christ. It's a tiny little seed, but what it turns into is a huge eternal gift that becomes the biggest possible deal. And in some sense, what we're going to offer is going to appear like a tiny mustard seed to everybody, but you are not in darkness, that you should think that will wind up as just a mustard seed. So those of you who are following along and have seen this clue, and when you first see what we do, you say, "Oh, is that all?" Yeah. Just wait till you see the mustard seed grow into the biggest tree. Next.
Number 15.
Okay. This came from a story where Paul was going to a new town, and he always would go to the Jewish people first, and then when they would eventually kick him out, he would go and take it to the other people who didn't have all the Jewish heritage and offer it to the Gentiles. And so what it says in this particular verse, which is from Acts, "But when they opposed Paul and became abusive, he shook out his clothes in protest and said to them, 'Your blood be on your own heads. I am innocent of it. From now on I will go to the Gentiles.' Then Paul left the synagogue and went next door to the house of Titus Justus, a worshiper of God." Well, that's sort of like whenever I switched into a different Telegram channel, and basically that channel is for people who are willing to put up with what I talk about. And I haven't been back to the other forums very much since then. I do monitor the ones I haven't been banned from, but I'm quite happy where I'm at right now, and those people who hang out there get the benefits of things like this. See, I'm fairly certain that there is nobody in the scoffers who's going to sit through a 2-hour presentation like this. But those of you who do certainly deserve to understand the things we're thinking about, even though it's fictional. Okay, next.
16.
For many are called, but few are self-chosen. Yeah, basically we're going to offer this to everybody. I'm going to go to the big Amsterdam BitShares meeting, and I'm going to talk to everybody in there, and without discriminating against anybody. They've given me all of 15 minutes to talk. And so in that 15 minutes, I'm going to give them the essence of what I can cram into that 15 minutes without any of the implications of what you folks know from where you're at. And you know, that 15 minutes may or may not be enough to convince the scoffers to get on board, but that's okay. Those who don't choose to participate, we really don't want voting in our new system. Okay, next.
17.
17. Okay. Oh man, can you stretch that out a little bit, Connie? There, it's a little bit too much print for me to be able to read.
Here you go.
Ah, at that time, the future of BitShares will be like the 10 versions that took their wallets and were not to wait for a big event. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their wallets, but did not take any BTS with them. The wise ones, however, took BTS along in their wallets. The event was a long time coming, and they became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the event! Come out to participate!" Then all the virgins woke up and grabbed their wallets. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your BTS. We need to get in on this." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both of us and you. Instead, go to those who sell BTS and buy some for yourself." But while they were on their way to buy BTS, the event occurred, and the virgins who were ready to deploy their BTS, and the offer was closed. Later, others who came and they said, "Open the deal for us." But the event manager replied, "Truly, I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." So one might infer from this clue that it will be advantageous for you to already have oil in your lamps, as the original parable was. In this case, already have BTS while you can get them, because the more BTS you have, the more you can participate. But when the hour comes and everybody understands what having BTS is good for, then there'll be people out there trying to get them, and it'll be a lot more expensive and time consuming to do that. The only part about this parable that I will say is that there's plenty of time for people. This will go on for many days, many days, many weeks. So it's not like this is something that you only have a very tiny window to do. But it is a window, and those who wait for it to trickle out to them by word of mouth and get discussed and finally go read up on it and everything are letting time run off the clock. And one of the characteristics of this particular airdrop is it's not a point in time, but it's a process over an extended period of time. So the sooner you know about it, the more days you can participate in it, and therefore being ready to participate with not just BitShares, but knowledge of why you should participate is your key asset, because then you can make a decision as to how much you want to participate the very first day. Other people are scrambling to figure out what's this all about. As they wait, you have an extra advantage that they don't have because you started participating sooner. And so that's what that's all about. Next.
Number 18.
Now learn this lesson from Steam at Stan. As soon as its channels become active and sprout many posts, you know that something is up. Well, we've had that happen a little bit, and some people speculated that the big hubbub about the D-Web was initial example of maybe this event happening. But these are just the birth pangs, the starting earthquakes and wars and rumors of wars. So that little burst of activity is just a beginning compared to the kind of things that you're seeing coming out as this unfolds. So yeah, you've had a little taste of it. Expect that to pick up. Next.
19.
He who accepts the offer has a windfall. He who rejects the offer shall not see a windfall, for Stan's wrath remains upon him. This is actually from John 3:36. It's about 20 verses after the most famous verse in the Bible, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal, everlasting life. Well, 20 verses after is the flip side of that. It says, he who has the Son has eternal life. He who does not have the Son shall not see life, for God's wrath remains upon him. That part is saying, not only is John 3:16 true, but there's no other substitute to that. You either got Jesus, and therefore eternal life, or you've got nothing. And so I was thinking, yeah, that's what I want to kind of emulate here. We're going to give people a chance to participate. There'll be specific things you can do to participate, and those who participate will enjoy the rewards of doing so. But people who decide not to participate will not see that windfall, and therefore they get what's coming to them. So next.
Number 20.
Okay, so that's 20 out of 35, folks. We're going to get to the end of it. Okay, this is also from the book of Acts, where Paul was on trial before some governors and kings, and he's talking to those different people. And at this point, one of the governors, Festus, interrupted Paul's defense. "You are out of your mind, Paul," he shouted. "Your great learning is driving you insane." "I am not insane, most excellent Festus," Paul replied. "What I am saying is true and reasonable. The king is familiar with these things, and I can speak freely to him. I'm convinced that none of this has escaped his notice, because it was not done in a corner. King Agrippa, do you believe the prophets? I know you do." Then Agrippa said to Paul, "Do you think that in such a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian?" And Paul replied, "Short time or long, I pray to God that not only you, but all who are listening to me today may become what I am, except for these blockchains." Okay, well, I'll admit that last little thing was a gratuitous pun, but what the purpose of all this was is, once again, what we're doing is not done in the corner. Everything we've done this whole time has been very public and open for everybody, and everybody's had a chance. I've just tried to couch it in such a way that it's surrounded in things that smell good to people that think like me, and smell bad to people who don't. And so that's why all this has been done that way. Next.
Number 21.
He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more treachery or trolling or whining or fud, for the former things have passed away. And the one seated on the lazy boy said, "Behold, I make all things new." Now, the one seated on the lazy boy, as Connie will tell you, I spend most of my day sitting in a lazy boy in front of a big screen monitor. Whereupon Connie, when she calls me up on Skype, is looking down on me from high above the top of my Apple iMac monitor. And so she's sitting in the lazy boy. But yes, we are going out to make all things new. And the hope is that this will produce new way of thinking for the community in terms of balance of power. And hopefully when people see what this turns into, they'll turn around and look, well, who were the people that were saying all these nasty things about Stan and Michael and the Once Upon a Time, and other people that have been supportive. Even Connie has taken a licking and kept on ticking. We hope that that will change things, and ultimately maybe the people responsible for all of this will get reduced influence on the community. There'll be a new rebirth of freedom and integrity and civility. Or maybe not. After all, this is a work of fiction. Next.
Number 22.
Okay. This I put in there for CoinTroller, who had made a comment that, something to the effect of women not being adequately represented inside the crypto community and everything. And so just for fun, I put this particular verse in there as a salute to women. And I imagined this is actually from the book of Proverbs, the very last chapter, is a salute to an excellent wife. Although I'm kind of amused by that first line in the Bible, a woman of noble character, who can find? And I quote that to my wife quite often. But it goes on, and I just paraphrased it a little bit of saying, well, what would an excellent woman be doing? And so I changed it from the things they were doing back in the days of King Solomon to the things that you might find an excellent woman doing these days. Honor her for all that her investments have done, and let her portfolio bring her praise in the city gates. So that was just a little intermediate thing. It doesn't have a whole lot of clue value, but I had to put it in there because that was how I was inspired at the time.
So you want to go to 23?
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. 23.
Okay. I need it a little bigger there, Connie.
Doom. There you go. You see it? I don't hear from you. Uh-oh, we lost you, Stan. We lost you, Stan. We lost Stan. We lost you, Stan. Stan is gone at 23. Stan, we have lost you, so you gotta come back in there. Let's see here. I'm going to do a twosome until you show up at 23. Okay. Hey, everybody, Blue Rockers. As you can see, there's a question mark. So I don't know where Stan went, but he poofed away. Probably somebody not liking the clues. So I just hope he knows, because sometimes he just keeps chatting away. So we'll see if he shows back up here. Well, we are at clue number 23. Oh, wait a minute. I think, are you back? No, you're not back. Are you back? Wave your hand if you're back. Ah, it's the old shot. I'll let him see where we're at. Let's see here. There we go. Come on, Stan. Come on, Stan. We need you. Let's see. Clear that. Clear that. He'll be back if he sees it. So let me give him a little text. Let's say, Stan, you are not on. So those of you just tuning in. Wow, that's crazy. All right, I'm hoping we are back on. Holy cow, let me give Stan a new, that was crazy. Somebody's doing something weird. All right, there you are. Okay, hold on here. Hold on here. Hold on here. Let's bring us both on here. Okay, I think we might be back on. Crazy. Okay, say something, Stan, so I'll know if I can hear you.
I'm right here.
Ooh, let's see. We got one thing to change, the audio mixer. Okay. All right. I hope all you Blue Rockers have stuck around. Connie Willis here. I got to tell you, Stan, that was kind of funky. You went out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm playing around a little bit, talking, and then I come back on myself, and then I go completely out, everything off. So now, I'm just throwing this out there, okay? In the Coast to Coast world, and even on the Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis world, when you do anything alien-like or anything that is conspiracy-like and you say something you shouldn't be saying, you know, sometimes it gets fuzzy, gets crazy, gets cut off, or something gets hidden. Now, you yourself during these clues have said how there's problems, and you know, we're talking to the best of the best geeks in the world, in the crypto world. And if they don't like something, which, you know, that's kind of what we're talking about, how some bullies have, you know, pushed you to a whole nother Telegram and different things like that. They're the biggest hackers in the world that we talk to here. You don't think anybody could have done something to my computer or yours, do you?
Well, I'm sure they've been, you know, sending out mental vibes trying to disrupt it. I don't know. It's, you know, this world is full of people with strange capabilities. And, you know, we've certainly seen a lot bigger names than us out there having the plug pulled on them and being deplatformed. So that seems to be the current rage. And I do mean that in both senses of the word.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not liking that. But anyway, so we are back at it. You stopped at 23. Let me make sure everybody's back here. Everybody's cool on the, everybody still there on YouTube and some of the other platforms? Just give me a nice hello. Just give me a nice hello. All right, so anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to number 23, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go to 23. Make sure I didn't delete. Oh, I deleted 23, so you got to. No, I got it. Here we go. I deleted some of them, so don't go backwards. Okay. Okay, let's see. Here we go. 23.
Okay. I need a little bigger picture than that.
You do?
Yeah.
On,
stretch
dude.
that. Stretch that.
About Willis? Okay. All right. I can do that. Here we go. Here it is. 23.
Okay. Or suppose a developer is about to compete against another blockchain. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he is able, with a $500 million market cap, to oppose the one coming against him with $8 billion? If he is not able, he will have to think bigger, Pinky. This is just sort of a little fun pointing to the success of Dan's latest EOS project, which is, you know, quite a juggernaut. There are a lot of people who have been thinking, you know, well, isn't this going to be not only an Ethereum killer, but also a BitShares killer? I think you're getting the idea right now that our plan is not to get run over by EOS, but to jump on it like a flea on the back of a turtle and say, whee! So we're going to ride on that technology and make sure BitShares maintains its place in the world. And we've got some tricks up our sleeves to why doing that, we will not only not fall behind, but we will have a few new tricks up our sleeves that will occupy a different niche than the EOS main chain, but it's a really interesting and exciting niche that I've been talking about. And anybody who read my Steemit article on intra-jurisdictional blockchains got a big hint here, because one of the biggest things about this new product that we'll be introducing is the fact that it'll be jurisdictionally agile. And I'll be revealing more of that as we come to other clues, but that's part of our thinking bigger, which is to ride on the turtle and then achieve higher heights than the turtle by standing on the shoulders of giants. Okay, next. Yes, this is a play on Jesus's lament over the city of Jerusalem. It broke his heart. He looked down at him, and he knew what was coming. He knew they were going to get wiped out by the millions and have the city razed to the ground. And all those things happened because they didn't know when their Messiah arrived. And we saw in 70 AD that Romans came in and basically tore down the city. So I thought, well, why don't I make something like that too? Because it's kind of how I feel sometimes. And when I look at it and see, first off, we get great support, but the various factions who don't do that remind me an awful lot of those Jews who didn't recognize what was good for them and therefore resisted it. But so we'll read it here. Oh, BitShares, who shuns its founders and smears those sent to her. How often I have longed to gather you together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were unwilling. Look, your evildoers are left to you desolate. Okay, well, there's nothing too awful bad about desolating evildoers. They get what's coming to them. But it does make me feel bad, all the people who you might say the neutral middle, who soak up that FUD, and right now there's really very little I can do to communicate with them, because having been shut out of one of the main forums where they are located, they're getting a steady diet of misinformation that I can only imagine. So I can just sit back here and do Stan's lament over BitShares, just like Jesus's lament over Jerusalem. But both of these stories have happy endings, so we'll leave it there. Next.
25.
A helicopter pilot went out to airdrop some seed. And as he was scattering the seeds, some fell along the path and the birds came and ate it up. And some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil, and it sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell up among the thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. And still others fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 160 or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. So this is a very famous parable. It's talking about basically the message, the pearls of wisdom that Jesus was passing out fell on all different types of people, and very few of them were able to do anything and benefit from it for one reason or another. And but there are some who it fell on the good soil, which I think are all you folks out there that are bothering to listen to this, and they received a significant crop because they were in a position to benefit where others weren't. I gave more clues on this later, so we'll talk more about it when we get to the follow-up clue. Just like in the Bible, a few chapters later, they came and asked him about this parable, and Jesus gave them an explanation. Next.
Number 26.
You have heard it said that mining is dead, but I say unto you that mining will live again. Of course, you know, one of the things we were proudest about is the success of BitShares and the graphene technology that underlies it is the fact that we got rid of mining. And so it would seem to be very surprising to see me suddenly say that again. But the reason we got rid of mining is because in the original BitShares, it didn't need it. Remember, mining has two functions. Function number one of mining is to secure the network, and DPost doesn't need that in order to secure the network. So we got rid of mining. But there is another valid function for mining that we did use, and that was getting a fair distribution of the initial coins. And of course, the very first prototype of BitShares was mined and then upgraded and upgraded and upgraded with new additions on top of that. And so that function of mining is something that we didn't need because all the shares, you know, nowadays are already in the hands of their owners, all the BitShares. And so there was no need to have any mining function for that purpose. We used airdrops as a way of distributing new tokens as we went along. But there's a lot of tokens out there that right now people are using, creating a token and then selling it, but that turns it into an ICO, which, depending on where you live, might be problematic for you. One thing that the SEC seems to have indicated here in America is that if people mine their coins, they don't consider that a security. They consider that a good distribution mechanism. So why not build in mining functionality into the issuance mechanism for new tokens on the BitShares Smart Coin Factory? Well, the main reason is because we don't want to modify BitShares, but we do have a new chain, and it could have smart contracts of a special type that implement mining on chain so that people can introduce new coins using a provably fair mining algorithm. And so that's something that I think you'll see rear its head again. Not immediately, but it's in the vision for the future in this fictional alternative universe. Next.
27.
Boom! Here's a big one. Okay. So, there is nothing more galling to a libertarian than to have a libertarian Christian than to have the Bible tell us to obey the governing authorities. Okay. And if there is any verse in the Bible that I would be tempted to say this has got to be an error, it would be this one. But let's look at it for a minute. Let everyone who be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist, including the regulators, have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment upon themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. This is the #1 candidate for nomination. If I ever get a chance to appeal to God and say, hey, can we repeal that one sentence there? Because it seems obvious to me that a lot of people who have done no wrong are being terrorized by our rulers. Okay, so I've never really understood that sentence, but it's in the Bible, so I comply with it. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and you will be commended. Well, that doesn't seem true either. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. Ah, now I understand. Okay, if you are not God's servant for our good, then you really aren't in authority. You're an imposter. Hey, maybe that's how I'll interpret it. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of the possible punishment, but also as a matter of conscience. This is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Give everything that you owe to them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. And if honor, then honor. Then I put in brackets, final little thing. And if God gives you a choice of jurisdictions, choose wisely. That's my escape clause. You got to obey the authorities that are established for you, but you can move to a different country. Some of us may find that hard, but that's certainly one way that you can go seek a more friendly form of government. But since I was talking about jurisdictionally agile blockchains and with smart contracts that can check and execute in a jurisdiction that is favorable to that particular smart contract, would be potentially a revolutionary change, because now people would have the ability, instead of forming a company on a Caribbean island, they could do a smart contract located somewhere in the world in a jurisdiction where that type of a smart contract can execute and be welcomed by its local government. And so that gives you a hint at sort of the direction we're heading with what we're going to use this new hybrid blockchain for, and what makes it unique, and what goes beyond what EOS is doing with its main chain, which is occupying all jurisdictions like every other blockchain that you can think of. Next.
Number 28.
Consider the blockchains of the sea and sky. They run on privately owned platforms. Yet I tell you, Bitcoin in all its glory was not as decentralized as one of these. Ooh, that is a nugget, folks. When I talk about jurisdictional agility, that could be locating yourself entirely in Utah, where legal tender laws are particularly protective of transactions in the form of gold. And our depository out there is set up so that all transactions in quints actually occur in Utah, no matter where you ask for them to occur using your wallet. It actually winds up creating a escrow transfer in the state of Utah and never crosses state lines. And therefore, the jurisdiction over that particular transaction is limited to Utah law. And that was carefully studied by a lot of lawyers and set up that way. But of course, you could imagine that another really great jurisdiction is the sea. Cruise ships, when they leave harbor, as soon as they get out beyond the 12-mile limit, turn on their casinos until they get to the next port, and live by international law and allow people to enjoy playing games of chance while they're at sea. You can imagine similar platforms being located in the air or sky. Probably not so much in the air because countries claim the airspace over top of them, but you get up in space and that's under the jurisdiction of international law. And you can imagine that blockchains up there, let's just take an example. Suppose we put a blockchain in space. Well, we couldn't do what we have done usually, which is allow elected witnesses to supply their own computer and rent it from somewhere or buy it or whatever, but they come to the game with their own equipment, and then they install the appropriate software on it and maintain it and do their block signing function. But if we're going to put platforms on cruise ships or in space, then we got to find a new way to do it, where when you get elected witness, you get issued a processor in the jurisdiction that you've been elected to. And in that sense, it would be like being in Washington, D.C., getting elected to Congress and being issued a government office where you can occupy that office until you are kicked out of office for all the things you've been doing, and your successor comes in and takes over your office. So this particular idea of decentralization is maintained by still electing the block signers, but you can't have decentralization of hardware when it's specialty hardware in a location that ordinary folks can't put a processor. So nevertheless, each of those nodes can still be thoroughly decentralized, and so that's what we're talking about here. Bitcoin, in all its glory, is only about 4 main nodes that sign over half the blocks. So it's not hard to exceed Bitcoin in all its glory in terms of decentralization. Next.
Number 29.
Listen to the riddle, what the riddle of the helicopter means. When anyone hears the message about the future of BitShares and does not understand it, the evil ones come and snatch away their will to participate. This is the tokens dropped along the path. Tokens falling on rocky ground refers to the newbies who hear the plan and at once and receive it with joy, but since they have no root, they participate only a short time. When FUD or ridicule comes along about the plan, they quickly fall away. And the tokens falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the plan, but the naysayers and competitors choke their strength to persist and make the participation unfruitful. But the BTS falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the plan and understands it. And this is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times. That's probably pretty self-explanatory by this point, right? We're basically saying that if we were to do a general purpose airdrop, a lot of the seed would be wasted. But if we can come up with an airdrop strategy where none of those seeds fall on all those bad places, but they all fall on the good soil, then we're going to have a much bigger crop, aren't we? Because all of that will happen. And that means if we were to say that half of the owners of BitShares decide not to participate and the other half do, guess what? The other half will get twice as much because all of the free samples will go on half as many people. Boy, there is a secret. Don't repeat that. Next.
Number 30. Can you read it?
Nope.
You better start typing these bigger, man.
Yeah, I thought I got them all blown up, but a few I forgot to do. Clue 30. Okay. Think not that I plan to destroy our existing blockchains. I plan not to destroy, but to fulfill. For truly I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one semicolon or one curly brace shall in no ways pass away from the duly elected witness-approved code till all things be accomplished. This is just a reassurance to those of the original chain, that its governance mechanism rules, and I'm not attempting or suggesting to do anything other than by the standard governance mechanisms that are in place. And so, that's what we're talking about here. Everything we're doing is designed to make BitShares stronger. And of course, different people have different ideas as to what would be for the good of BitShares, and it'll ultimately be up to the elected mass, or the mass owners of BitShares, to decide how they want to see that evolve. But in the meantime, the group of people who will be participating in the new chain are hopefully going to be like-minded individuals, and therefore will have better success on making changes to the new wineskins than the old. Next.
Number 31.
Okay. This is the biggie. This is modeled after Daniel chapter 9, which is one of the most accurate and amazing prophecies in the Bible. It predicted Jesus' ride into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday 444 years or so in advance. And so I've always loved pointing out this to people. But I thought, well, this is something with some real hard dates in it. Can I turn it into something that points to a parallel set of events that would be happening? And so this is how I modified it. 77s are decreed for your people and your blockchains to finish development, to put an end to FUD, to undo wickedness, to bring in everlasting integrity, to seal up vision and riddles, and to achieve their proper places on CoinMarketCap. Know and understand this. The people of the Fudslinger who has come will try to destroy the blockchain and the community. He will enlist a conspiracy with many for 1/7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to trust and civility. And in the Telegram channels, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation until the end that is decreed is poured out on him. The end will come with a raindrop. War will continue until the end, and desolations have been decreed. From the time the word goes out to restore and rebuild BitShares until the plan is complete, there will be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. It will be rebuilt with layered fortifications and a vote, but in times of trouble. Boy, this is going to take a little while to parse on you. Let's do the easy part first. I'm going to need that still big enough to read, Connie. So if you could stretch it again.
Okay, sorry. There we go.
You're really stretching it. Okay. So the raindrop is referred to as what I call the new type of airdrop. Raindrop is a continuous dropping of free tokens onto people who are participating in the program. And if you've got participating BitShares, then the rain will fall on your BitShares and you'll get more rain than if you don't. And so the total amount you accumulate is a function of how many BitShares you have and how long you keep them in position to be dropped on. So we'll give you more details about how a raindrop works as we go along next week, but that's what that's talking about. We are talking about 77s, but they're not all the same units of time. The first 7 is actually 7 years, the first 7 years of BitShares. The rest of the 7s are actually weeks. The first 7 weeks we are in right now. The 7th week is the week in which we are kicking it off with being in Amsterdam and then down to Sao Paulo. And at the end of that week, we'll publish a white paper and a Steemit article telling all about this so that the rest of the world can know what's going on. There will be a period of time after that that is undefined before the next 62 weeks start ticking off the clock. That's a function of when the software is ready. And, hopefully it won't be very many more weeks before that happens. But I don't want to stick a stake in the ground there until I get told that it will for sure be available. We do have a test net running right now, so in theory, we should be able to pick almost any date. But those of you who are following this, by the time comes, will be able to predict precisely what date that might be. And of course, I hope to announce that date specifically when we're in Amsterdam. But have to wait another couple weeks to find out whether that's actually true. If we go to the next slide and blow it up, it's actually a diagram of this. It helps me explain it a little bit, maybe. So next slide, Connie, and blow it up. There we go. Clue 31 diagrammed. Okay, so what we're basically show there is the first week is a week of the first 7 years of BitShares. That starts on November 5th, 2013, Guy Fawkes Day, which was something that was picked by Charles Hoskinson, as he said, remember the 5th of November as the date that we would suggest or make available the software for people to start mining the very first block of ProtoShares, BitShares BTS. And then you can see the other products that Dan has created on there, including the one coming up right about now, just before the 5th Guy Fawkes Day. And at a particular time, sometime in that general vicinity, we'll talk about BitShares EOS, which we might abbreviate as BIOS. And you are right before those kind of events. The abomination which causes desolation, spoken of by the prophet Daniel, was the appearance of the Antichrist in most people's interpretation of prophecy, is expected to happen in the middle of a 7-week period of tribulation before Jesus returns. I'm going to basically, instead of saying the Antichrist in Christian literature, this is the anti-niced, the exact opposite of a nice person who becomes the bane of the community. And if you read the documentation of what he does, he puts an end to trust and civility by running around and telling stories about different members in different communities and pitting them against each other. So all of the great trust and civility that we have in the community has been undermined by one individual, the anti-niced, who is out there leading a small band of like-minded individuals, doing the best to undermine the civility that we had enjoyed and that I hope to bring back as we go along. The other 7 and 62 sevens are weeks of days. And so we've been going through back since the word went out to restore and rebuild BitShares, Clue 48. That occurred on the 11th of August. And it's ticking down and will wrap up at the end of the week that we're out traveling and speaking and publishing white papers and stuff. And then once that's done, we'll hit a hiatus before the clock starts ticking again, and then it will tick off another 62 weeks before all of the potential changes are done. If you were to look at the very last sentence of the Clue 31, you'll see that in the original Daniel verse, Jerusalem will be rebuilt with fortifications and a moat, and I changed that to BitShares will be rebuilt with fortifications and a vote, because of course to put in all of the features we hope to bring to BitShares, there will need to be some additional changes to it that enable cross-chain communication. I will say that there are some good people working on cross-chain communication technology, and it may be that when the time is right, that'll be available without having to do anything special for us. We can just adopt it. But if not, during this period of time, we'll be working on a better form of cross-chain communication. Of course, the group of people that are working on that and interested in that have their own Telegram channel, and they're talking about different categorizations of how advanced the cross-chain communication might be. And the very first level of cross-chain communication is done with a gateway. And so our initial version that doesn't modify BitShares at all will have to rely on gateway technology until such time as the appropriate technology gets voted in to allow direct connect to EOS category chains. So that's what we're talking about there. And there's more timelines that are involved in all of this in 244, which we'll get to next week. I'll just point out that 70 weeks and 70 days is exactly equal to 40 fortnights. And so all of that will have to go into the timeline that we'll talk about next week.
Number 32.
Number 32. And a great and mighty wind tore into the mountains and shattered the rocks. And the secret was not in the wind. And after the wind, there was an earthquake, and the secret was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, there was a fire, but the secret was not in the fire. And after the fire came a still small voice. So after much hoopla and so on, the actual results of what we're doing will be stated in a wee small voice, meaning that I don't intend to go out anytime soon and trumpet this all around the universe. But when the time comes and we make that announcement, it should spread on its own. And so just wanted to let you know that there'll be lots of furor after we announce this coming up in the next couple weeks. I don't have any idea what to expect, except that experience has shown that this will result in a massive FUD campaign. I can anticipate some of the channels that it might go along, and when all those other big events are over, then will come a small voice with a small little announcement that will pretty much negate all that. So put up with it while it goes on, because when you see these things happening, look up, your redemption is near. Next.
33.
You have heard it said that blockchain should be as decentralized as possible, but I say unto you, they should only be as decentralized as necessary. Of course, we in the BitShares community have learned that a long time ago, back when we had 101 witnesses and realized that we were getting a lot of witnesses that nobody knew because nobody knew 101 people. And so in later versions of Graphene, it was set up to pick the median number of witnesses that had a large probability that most people knew who they were voting for, and that's usually comes in at around 21, plus or minus a few. So that philosophy continues on into what we're talking about in this blockchain. It will be decentralized in terms of who controls what software runs on what nodes, but necessarily it will not be decentralized in terms of who provides the hardware, because we're going to put some of this hardware where no man has gone before. Next.
Number 34.
Whew, a big one. I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but I will comment on it. This is the story of the workers in the field, and the basic story is that a vineyard owner went out to hire people to help with his harvest, and he went around looking for people to help. In the morning, he found a few people. He hired them and said, "Go to work," and then he kept going out many times throughout the day, harvesting or finding more people and saying, "Go to work and I'll pay you what's right." At the end of the day, he paid everybody the same, and the people who worked all day were upset because they had worked all day and they got the same thing as the guys that showed up and only worked an hour. And this was Jesus's way of saying, "Look, I appreciate those of you who early in your lives found out about him and have been faithful servants the whole time, and I also want to reward those who didn't find out about it until they were old people, and they finally came around at the very last minute. And some of you may be upset the fact that they all get into heaven just the same." He says, "But why should you complain? You got what what you were expecting for your work. What I wanted to point out with that particular verse is, in this particular case, there will be people out there who are complaining that they didn't get as much time because they were late coming to the table, and did not spend time following what we were doing and providing support. And so in my case, it's a little bit just the opposite. Those who've been with us the longest and have put the effort into it and put the extra participation that's required in order to get raindrops, I think they deserve to get more. And so what we should see is a shifting of the balance of voting power in the new chain to people who have been like-minded and good supporters. And so in this case, it was not a parallel, but it was almost like a mirror image of the original parable that Jesus told. Next.
All right, the final one, that is number 35. There you go.
Okay, this is when we're getting to the four horsemen, which I have revealed quite a lot about, but it's appropriate to end on number 35 here. When the first seal was opened, I looked, and behold, there before me was a white horse. And the rider turned to the west and rode off along the rivers of EOS to seize great power and agility among the kingdoms of men. And back at the time I did this verse, we hadn't mentioned anything about what was going to be released. But this was the first big hint that what we were talking about is one of the main four extensions, if you will, to the performance and capabilities of BitShares would in fact be along the rivers of EOS. It would be leveraging EOS technology for the benefit of BitShares holders. And so it's a good place to end, because most of what we've talked about tonight has been giving you an idea that the big news is a new type of EOS extension to BitShares without harming BitShares, and done so in such a way as to give BitShares a new boost and eliminate a lot of the fear people have that EOS is going to, in some sense, harm BitShares by making it obsolete. No, BitShares is going to take things to new heights, if you'll pardon the pun, in terms of what we are able to do with EOS. And we're not going to compete with it, but we're going to occupy an ecological niche that it doesn't and can't occupy. There, that's what I've got, Connie. And now let's bring your smiling face back in here, because people have been looking at mine way too long.
Oh my gosh, so have I. Oh my gosh, too much Stan. Wait a minute.
It's tough. But you know, did we really take 2 hours?
Oh my gosh, you did.
It's got to be Connie's fault. Aren't you the editor-in-chief here?
Oh my gosh.
You're responsible to get the big hook and pull the guy off the stage.
Man, I went and got dinner and came back. That's all I know.
Man.
Wow, that's incredible. That's 35 clues, and you have a whole another, what, 35?
Next week we'll do another 35. There's a total of 70. You notice how that number 70 keeps coming up. But yeah, and we'll continue, and that'll give people, by the time we get to next week, they'll be just 1 week away from when the general community gets to hear a 15-minute announcement. And that's to their detriment. The fact that they only gave me 15 minutes means that they can only hear so much. I'll give them the facts, and let he who has ears to hear. But I would have loved to have gone up there and talked for a half hour or longer to let them know about the significance of this to the community. But I'll do my best in the time that is allotted at that time, and the rest of you will know how to interpret the things said there much more deeply than those who are even attending and hearing about it in person. But when all is said and done, no one can say that everybody hasn't been given a fair opportunity, and there will be a period of time after that announcement for people to study up, if they take it seriously, before they have to act, and that's the important thing.
Are you done?
Yep.
No, this has been great, Stan. Those of you that are just now joining us, it's Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis. This is Crypto Connie Tuesday that you're watching right now. This is Stan Larimer, the godfather of BitShares, and we are giving his 35 out of 70 clues right now. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. Thank you for waiting. Put them in all caps. Or if you also have a comment that you want to make sure Stan gets, put it in all caps. Now, we are currently broadcasting on YouTube, DLive, Facebook, 3 different Facebooks, Blue Rock Talk and Connie Willis, and my personal page. Also, Twitter, and I said DLive right. Still working on BitTube. It didn't work. I don't know. There's something I got to hit. And I think that's it for right now. You'll also see it on Steam and any Blue Rock Talk or Connie Willis platform. Hopefully you should see it there, but mostly live right here. And I'm looking at the chats in YouTube and DLive. So if you're chatting on Facebook right now or Twitter, send it over here to YouTube, and the link is provided for you, or go ahead and check out DLive. The other thing, if you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that you have a whole full, week full of goodies. We talk about all sorts of things because it's Blue Rock Talk, Earth's most interesting conversations. And so because of that, we talk about all sorts of goodies on different nights of the week. The other thing is, if you would like to donate to the show, which a lot of you do, by the way, and thank you so much. And I appreciate that you guys are following, my request on this, because if you donate to the show to some of the other, donation platforms out there, then, I lose a percentage for them. But if you go down to my favorite crypto, which is down below in the description, then you can go ahead and just give there, and then I get it. It might drop, but it might raise, right? So I would appreciate if you donate in crypto for sure. That's always a nice thing to do. All right, I'll be back on Coast to Coast, October 6th, I think it is. And right now, let's get back to Mr. Larimer and see if you guys have any questions about these. I'm telling you, what 832 says, Connie is exhausted. Good work, Connie and Stan. I'm exhausted. I'm beat. Oh my gosh. What it is a ton of information is what's going on. So, Stan, okay, tell everybody that just joined what the clues are about.
Well, the clues are about an alternative universe, a fictional universe where things go exactly the way Stan would like to see them go. Okay, and there are forces of good and evil out there pushing and pulling on that to try to make the real world go to that vision or away from that vision. And that's why you can't really say that anything in this fictitious world that I'm describing is guaranteed to happen. A lot of things can go wrong, and I wouldn't want to be accused of making a false statement by looking forward and saying, this is definitely going to happen. And so I have to be careful to make sure you understand this is the reference fictional storyline that I hope the real world will follow. And you can make your own judgments as to whether the real world is going to do that or something different. And I'm not making any comments or predictions or statements of fact about the real world at all, because unfortunately, the governing authorities, at least in this universe, this fictional universe, have no sense of humor and can sometimes be downright vindictive and are certainly not fair and honest arbiters of justice. And so in this particular universe that I'm in, not the one you're in, which is reality, but my fictional universe, I'm not free to just talk about the universe. I have to go and make sure people understand it's only a dream.
I love it. Hey, how do you like my rocks or my bricks in the back?
Yeah, it's certainly a lot better than green.
Yeah, it just happens once in a while when I don't have that thing working. Everybody's now finally learning what green screen is on some of these third-party apps. So I think, let's see here. Miss Cavs fan, here for quite a few of Stan's shows.
Oh, yeah.
A lover of Stan. Will you post both of your conference talks on Steam It? Always, yeah.
To the extent that I'm allowed to. A lot of times the conference folks want to save that and sell it as an additional form of revenue. So they may or may not give me permission to do that. But to the extent that anything we do can be put up, we certainly want to cause that to happen so more people can see it.
That's how out of it I am. I thought that they're talking about these shows. I'm thinking, yeah, I always put it on Steam It. And then you re-Steam it for me. But they were asking about the conferences. So,
yeah, well, at the very least, we can come here on CryptoConnie. And after having done it in Europe and South America and Las Vegas over a period of 3 weeks, I probably will have it memorized, and I'll just do it again here on Blue Rock Talk.
That's true. That's true. When are you in Vegas?
Let's see. I think November or Halloween and the first 2 days of November.
Oh, wow. I want to go. I want to go to Vegas. Vegas is fun. It's always fun. What is that event in Vegas? Do you remember the name?
A big blockchain conference.
Oh, okay. Where do you remember which hotel that's at?
No, I load that kind of information into my head just in time.
Yeah. No, your wife loads it into your head just in time.
Well, that's true.
That's true, right? It's fun going there, and there's specific hotels that I like the best. I think Encore is my absolute favorite. It's beautiful. It's the Encore of Wynn, and that's just fun. I just love that area. So, yes, that's right. Breaking news on CryptoConnie. Thank you, 832, for your words as well that we see. Murray Krause, who you also know very well, is saying, row, row, row your boat. And Kim Steele is living the dream. So we have a lot of good people on here. And right now, those of you that are on here, please hit that like button. There's more people on than the likes that are out there. And I know as people watch this in the archive state, I hope you also hit the like button and show your support, because that helps it grow. And if we grow, I can continue to put this on for free. All right, so otherwise, the nice, faithful, legit ones might have to do a $5, $10 a month thing. Hey, that's what all the other people I know do it for. So I'm trying not to do that so that I can make it easy for you guys and for everybody else. So any questions, put those in all caps. I'm going to hit all the other platforms to see about some questions, Stan, because it's all over the place. It's all over the place. So DLive, you know DLive, it's off of Steam It. Dan has done some wonderful work to where so many other fruits have come off of like the stump, tree, I guess, that he's created. I love it. I love it. Let's see. Question I got. So we're on DLive, we're on Twitter, on Facebook, and there you go. And I'm trying to tell people as quickly as I can where to ask the actual questions. Okay, breaking news. All right. So, maybe nobody has any questions.
All right. Well, it could have been straightforward enough by the time, or people have probably figured it out from the combination of all the things. So if that's the case, great. I'll be hanging around on BitShares for nice people, where you can show up and ask questions there, and I can respond at your leisure. So that's what I think we're ready to do. And in the meantime, I just had a extremely fruitful day. I literally drove 4 hours to Washington, D.C., had a 3-hour meeting and drove back, got out of that meeting more than I could have ever hoped to. And, that's another piece of information that will be revealed in due time.
Can't wait for that one. Yeah, you zoomed up there and back. Then you're heading to Utah, and I will see you in Utah. That's going to be interesting. And I know there's going to be a lot of meetings. Some people even asked to see us in Salt Lake City. Those of you that did ask for that, let me just check the meeting schedule when after all the other ones are set that have determined to meet there. But during that time too, one of those meetings is going hiking with you, Stan and Michael, and hopefully some of the other guys that we're going to meet there. So don't forget your hiking shoes, please.
All right. Well, if I do, I know you're able to just pick me up and carry me. So I'll rely on that.
Nope. So 832 is saying you're at the Aria Hotel and Casino. Aria.
Thank you.
Have you been to that one before?
I've wandered around Vegas, not paying attention to anything but the bright lights. So I could have been a lot of places that I don't remember.
Ding, 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 ding. You hear that for days afterwards, don't you? Ding,
It
ding,
rattles
ding,
your
ding,
brain. Yeah.
It's awful. I think what they do is they actually have a system that throws that sound out. I don't know that many people are playing that much. Be smart, wouldn't it, to do that?
I bet you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. If not, hey, anybody out there in Vegas, footnote it. License is out. I gotta get some points for that one. Yeah, Aria Hotel. Okay, I had something else to say, but I lost it. Anyway, I guess we're good to go.
All right.
Let me just check one of the other platforms here on DLive here. Murray goes, seriously, you're going to blockchain the Mormons? They'll love it. Now, one of the things I think we're going to be doing is actually tour the vault. Is that correct? With Quintric. Yeah,
I think that's likely to happen. That's in the plan, unless things get too hectic. I think we'll be doing that. I'll be actually speaking at a board meeting out there on Monday, so we'll be in the facility anyway. But of course, we need to figure out how to do it while you're still there. So,
I know. I want to see it. I got to see it. I've come too far. All right. Okay. Well, Stan, I'm gonna just go away. I can't move. I can't look at all the different formats. So if that's cool, we'll just say goodbye to you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
You okay with that? Can we leave?
Yep. I think that's good enough. It's already been 2 hours, and I'm going to go crash for a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I know you were going at it. So Stan, thank you so much. Stan Larimer, everybody, the godfather of BitShares, giving you 35 of his clues. Next week, another 35. And then the following week is the big,
Yeah, the following week I'll be traveling, crossing the oceans a total of 6 times in a period of 10 days.
Woof. All right. See you later, dude.
Take care.
All right. So that was Stan Larimer, everybody, the godfather of BitShares. Subscribe if you have not already. Please be a blue rocker. That is someone in the know. We have a lot of other great shows happening here as well. Bigfoot Friday, Far Out Thursday, Wasted Wednesdays coming, and Stan's Bible Lecture as well. That's on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. All the other shows are 9 p.m. Eastern, and a lot of little breaking news here and there, and little fun things here and there, and even stringers that are going to be coming from other parts of, other conventions and things like that, letting me know what's going on. I missed out. Our very own Mike Crow of Myth Chasers was going to be hitting the Bigfoot conference in Kentucky and bringing all the really cool people that we all know in, but he got a flat tire one day, then it was raining the next day, and of course I kidded him that he was getting old because, when you're in your early stages of the business, nothing, you're like a male man or male woman, nothing will stop you. No weather, no flat tires, nothing. So of course I bust on him as he busts on me a little bit too. So it is what it is. So let's see here. We got everything else done. Okay. I think we're good to go. I want to thank you again for showing up, and I ask you to please hit that like button and show your support for Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis. This is Earth's most interesting conversations, and tonight was Crypto Connie. Thanks for watching. More to come, of course.